Hey guys, so today I want to talk a little bit about why does it seem like a lot of lawyers are always talking about settling a case versus just always taking things to trial. My name is Briana Robertson. I'm the managing attorney here at the law office of Briana C. Robertson that's based out in Dallas, Texas. And this is a question that I get a lot, so let's get into it. So why are attorneys always talking about settling a case versus just taking everything to trial? Well, the main answer is that trial and litigation, it can be very costly and very time consuming. So a lot of times when we're assessing our needs for our clients, a lot of our clients want things to happen quickly. And if we're trying to be as cost effective of their money as possible, a lot of times things can get done through a lot of negotiations with just the two parties discussing things with each other without the courts getting involved. Whenever you are negotiating and settling, things can happen a lot quicker. The courts aren't involved, which means that it's a lot less money for you litigation wise because you're not having to go through the courts. So it's more cost effective for you, and you have more control of the outcome than if you were to take things to court. Whenever you are negotiating, is one party giving up something for the other party to give up something, so that way both parties at the end, both parties win, both parties in a way also lose something, but it gives you more control versus if you just go in the court system and you go through litigation, you are gambling. I don't care how strong a case may seem, there is no guarantee that a case will turn out in your favor. And so anytime you go through the courts and you file a lawsuit, you're gambling whether that judge or that jury is going to side on your side or not. And if they side against you, then you get nothing. If they side for you, that is awesome. That is great, because then that means you won and you're going to get everything that you asked for. But that is a very gamble when there is no guarantee about how a judge or a jury will decide. I've had a lot of cases that seem like they were slam dunk, and then you sometimes get by the hair of your teeth. You have no idea what could happen between the time that you file a case and it actually gets to trial phase. A lot of things happen. You have depositions, witnesses go missing, witnesses start forgetting. Evidence that was once strong gets weaker as time goes on. Just a lot of things can happen in the litigation process, and it's very, very risky, which is why a lot of attorneys often opt for doing settlement negotiations before going to trial, because it just gives you more control over the system, in that you have more control on what you can and cannot accept. You come out with something in the end, and it's just more cost effective that way, and it's quicker to settle and negotiate. Now, that does not mean that whenever you go into settlement negotiations that you just take anything they offer at you and that's it. No, whenever you go into negotiations, you want to make sure that you're coming out with what we consider to be a good deal, meaning that it has to be reasonable. It can't be something where it's like, oh, this is just completely unreasonable and out the water. No, if you're going into negotiations, yes, you're probably not going to get everything that you asked for, because anytime you go into negotiations, it's going to be a little bit of give and take. You give up a little bit of something in order to receive something, and vice versa. But that is why when you go into negotiations, you know what your draw line is, you know what your non-negotiables are. But so whenever you're doing negotiations and you're going back and forth, you want to come to a reasonable resolution that both sides can live with, that is fair in the end for that situation. And if it just seems like, it's not, y'all are not meeting in the minds that it's just not fair and the other party's just being completely unreasonable, by all means, go and file that petition and, take it to the courts, because you probably have a better chance in the courts of getting a more favorable decision than trying to do settlement negotiations. But the majority of the time, you do try to settle just because it gives you more control, it's more cost effective, and it's quicker that way. But like I said, whenever you're trying to do settlement negotiations, you are not required to agree to everything that they say, and especially if the other party is being unreasonable. Whenever you come into a settlement, you want to make sure that you're having a reasonable settlement that you can live with, that is fair for the situation. That is fair for the situation. But if it's not fair, then it's like I might as well just take my chances with the judge or the jury. But for the most part, a lot of times, a majority of cases get settled out of court. a very small percentage of cases actually go to trial. And most of the times, the bigger a case is, judges usually require the parties to go and try to mediate and find a settlement before it even goes to trial anyway, just because it's just more cost effective. And if every case went to trial, the courts would be so backed up. I mean, they're backed up now, especially from COVID, but if every case went to trial, the courts would be super backed up and nothing would really get done. And that's why I believe the statistic was, I think, either 95 or 98% of cases settle outside of court. But yeah, it's a very small percentage of cases that actually go to trial. Majority of cases settle. So I hope that answers your question about why a lot of times lawyers try to push negotiations and settlements versus just going to trial. It's not because, well, some people might be afraid, but it's not just because you're afraid of going to court, but most of the time it's just because it's more cost effective and quicker for your client, and it gives you a better chance of getting a favorable outcome than taking the gamble to go to court. So that's why a lot of times we suggest settling. So I hope that answers your question, or if you hope piques your interest. If you like this video and you found it to be very helpful, please click the like button and subscribe to this channel as well, so that way you get notifications whenever a new video drops, so you can continue to get this legal knowledge so you don't get taken advantage of by the legal system. My name is Briana Robertson. I'm the managing attorney at the law office of Briana C. Robertson that is based out here in Dallas, Texas. And until next time, you guys have a good one.